Hello and welcome to our next review in our series of serious reviews covered by True Facts. This time, we decided to review the critically acclaimed The Evil Biohazard 4, which is the sequel to The Evil Biohazard 3, which is the sequel to The Evil Biohazard 2, which is the sequel to The Evil Biohazard, and its prequel, Resident Evil 0. But what makes this game one of a kind and why this game is probably one of the best games ever is because it does some things different than its predecessors, and a lot of other games, introducing some new features and generally innovative things which the gaming industry hasn't seen so far. For this review, we decided to review the Xbox 360 version of this game since it is the only playable version. Sure, it was ported several times to other consoles, but we all know that the Xbox 360 was the console it was originally developed for. Hence, it is the best version and not some kind of shitty, graphically downgraded version like the Wii or the PlayStation 2 version. The Evil Biohazard 4 tells the story of Kurt Spiegel, who was a private detective sent to Brazil to find his best friend's girlfriend who paid him a lot of money. Since the best friend knows that some pretty messed up stuff is going on in Brazil and didn't want to go alone, he sends in Kurt because he already knew the zombie stuff he was already in while dealing with the Evil Biohazard 2 together with Saskia Flor. So Kurt makes his way to Brazil and finds himself trapped in a town where everybody wants his money. He fights his way through the town to the end boss until he eventually finds his best friend's girlfriend. But the story doesn't end here. They fall in love, causing a lot of drama since Kurt is actually gay. But, oh snap! There's actually another woman coming to steal Kurt away from his new girlfriend. So, as you can see, the story offers a lot of plot twists, which are good enough to entertain a whole evening and a second playthrough. Graphically, the game has a lot to offer and actually looks pretty good. Lifelike character models, good-looking environments, and a lot of lighting effects present an overall well-done presentation to the player. Several particle effects and some of the best animations one has ever seen add to the presentation. Unlike other games in the series, this game uses a lot of pre-rendered backgrounds and has almost no 3D environments, which is probably one of the reasons why this game looks so good and even let Crysis look like a baby's game. The gameplay brings some really refreshing new things into the action genre, since The Evil Biohazard 4 is the first game that has ever used the tactical, advanced, yet needed claustrophobic controls. In short, tank controls. The game also introduced chapters to gaming and is the first game to use codec calls in between these chapters or during the game where your assistant calls you and tells you stuff you don't need to know. The sound direction in this game is also very intriguing. The music is nearly non-existent as the whole game relies on sound effects which only adds to the atmosphere and makes it look like it's a borderline horror game. The voices for the character are usually fitting, even though some of the voice actors aren't really able to read their lines out correctly, which makes some of the characters sound like they speak Spanish instead of English. This is a horrible mistake, and we cannot explain how Konami could not notice this error. Yet, we've decided since the rest of this game's sound environment is pretty well done, we'd let this slip through and act like it's part of the game. And also rate this as a nice touch, since it really adds a lot to the Brazilian setting. But you might ask, but dear V2 Crew, you praise this game to heaven. Where are the bad points? Well, everything isn't perfect, of course. The bad points in this game are, for a game released in 1995, it aged pretty bad. The graphics, compared to other Xbox 360 games, look pretty bland, and the lack of color is really painful to the eyes. And lastly, the atrocious voice actors who obviously can't read out their lines correctly, combined with the obvious absence of fraud, makes this a pretty bad game. So, how do we rate it? Well, every experimental game, except for Mirror's Edge, is destined to fail. This game is no exception to that. Yet, we can't ignore that it has some good points, and it does at least do some things right. So, we rate it with 3 coconuts and 2 bananas out of 7 coconuts. Thanks for watching, and look forward to our next review. And don't forget to tune in to www.vidya.de for our live stream coverage for the latest and greatest video game releases.
'Cause I'm free as a bee flying over the trees, and all the summertime boys are all looking at me.